There was a woman named Sarah. She was the kind of woman who lit up every room she walked into. Smart, warm, dedicated, the kind of person who remembered everyone's birthday, who stayed up late to help a friend in crisis, who gave endlessly, beautifully, without ever thinking twice. And she was in love, or at least, she thought she was. For 3 years, Sarah loved a man who kept her at arm's length. She cooked for him when he was tired. She changed her plans when he was busy. She made herself smaller, quieter, easier, because she thought that's what love required. When he pulled away, she chased. When he went cold, she tried harder. When he left her on red for days, she wondered what she had done wrong. She wrote long messages at 2 a.m. explaining herself, apologizing for things she hadn't even done. She rehearsed conversations in her head. If I just say it the right way, maybe he'll understand. Maybe he'll stay. Maybe he'll love me back the way I love him. She was begging, not on her knees, not out loud, but in every single action she was begging. And the heartbreaking truth? He knew, and he let her. One evening, Sarah was sitting alone in her apartment, waiting again for a reply that wasn't coming, and something shifted. Not dramatically, not with thunder and lightning. It was quiet, like the moment just before dawn. She looked around her apartment at the dinner she'd cooked that was now cold, at her phone sitting face up on the table, at the version of herself reflected in the dark window, and she asked a question she had never dared to ask before. When did I become someone who begs? Not someone who loves deeply. That had always been her gift, but begs, someone who shrinks, someone who convinces, someone who works overtime to earn a basic human right, to be chosen. And in that silence, something ancient and knowing rose up inside her chest, a voice that said, "This is not love. This is fear dressed up as love." Here is what Sarah began to understand, and what I want every woman listening to hear. Love is not a performance. It is not something you earn by being perfect enough, patient enough, or small enough. When you beg for someone's attention, their time, their affection, you are not loving them. You are auditioning for a role in your own life. And here's the harder truth. A person who makes you beg has already made their choice. They are simply too comfortable or too cowardly to say it out loud. Your begging doesn't change their heart. It only empties yours. Sarah stopped sending that message. She put her phone down. She sat with the discomfort, that awful, hollow feeling of choosing yourself when everything in you wants to choose him instead. It wasn't easy. She cried. Of course she did, because grief is real. Letting go of someone you love, even someone who was never truly there, is a real loss. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. But somewhere in those tears, Sarah found something she had buried a long time ago. Her self-respect. Not arrogance, not walls, not coldness. Self-respect. That quiet, unshakable knowing that says I deserve to be loved without having to ask for it. She started making choices from that place. She stopped explaining herself to people who had already decided not to understand her. She stopped making herself available to someone who treated her time like an afterthought. She stopped rehearsing and started simply being. Months passed. Sarah didn't suddenly find a perfect relationship. Life doesn't work like a movie. But something better happened. She found herself again. She remembered that she was funny genuinely. Effortlessly funny when she wasn't walking on eggshells. She remembered that she loved hiking on weekends and painting on Sunday mornings, things she had quietly abandoned because his plans always came first. She reconnected with her college friends, Maya, Jess, and Lauren, women she had slowly drifted from because her whole world had collapsed down to the size of one person's approval. And slowly, her life expanded again. She began to understand that the love she had been chasing outside herself had always been available inside herself. She had just been too busy begging to notice. So, I want to speak directly to you now. If you are sending messages and waiting for replies that never feel like enough. If you are changing yourself, shrinking yourself, silencing yourself to keep someone close. If you are lying awake trying to figure out what you did wrong, When the real answer is nothing, they're just not choosing you. Hear this: you should never have to beg for love. Not from a partner, not from a parent, not from a friend, not from anyone. Real love, the kind you deserve, doesn't require a performance. It doesn't keep you guessing. It doesn't make you feel like you're always one mistake away from being abandoned. Real love feels like rest, like you can finally breathe, like you are seen not despite who you are, but because of it. Sarah's story doesn't end with a man, it ends with a woman who looked in the mirror and decided enough shrinking, enough chasing, enough pouring herself into someone who handed her an empty cup in return. She reclaimed herself, her voice, her time, her worth, and that is where the real love story begins. Not when someone else finally chooses you, but when you finally choose yourself. You are not too much. You are not too emotional, too needy, too sensitive. You are a woman who loves deeply, and you deserve someone who considers that a privilege, not a burden. She reclaims.